didn't even have to call for DOC.
Were you whistling just now?
Uh, I was kind of grabbing my pet accidentally.
Oh, okay. I thought you. Do you want me to find somebody for you?
You were actually the person I was looking for.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, you're Johanna, right?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised you remembered me.
Oh, I remember you. I showed you my book one time.
Yeah, I got it on
Actually,
me right now.
you hung out at Ursula's booth quite a bit.
Yeah, I haven't actually talked to her in a while.
It's funny, actually. She was just in here not that long ago.
Hmm. Uh, I came here to talk to you about Brett.
What about him?
Well, he's a really good friend of mine, and I'm worried about him.
That makes two of us.
He, mentioned seeing you yesterday, and, now things suddenly seem bad for him again. And I'm concerned. And I'd like to get some more information.
Well, I'm an open book. What do you want to know?
Is this hound person really going after Brett, or is this just something he thinks will happen, and so he's kind of preparing for the worst case scenario?
Well, some evidence would suggest that this individual is interested in specific types of people who commit certain types of acts.
Yes, but
Therefore,
has there been
well,
any direct threats against Brett?
no,
Hmm.
not yet.
Okay, interesting.
This individual has threatened, though, at least. Well, actually, they attacked one person who was related to us, and then they threatened another one who is related to us.
Hmm.
So one can stand to reason that perhaps Brett would show a little paranoia. I mean, I think honestly, it stands to reason, honestly, that he's right to feel that way because, if they're
Yeah,
going after people that have been connected to us specifically, then
but it seems like a little more than paranoia right now. He's treating it like an absolute certainty, and also he seems to be falling back into old bad habits.
what makes you say that?
Well, when I talked to him yesterday, he came to me and his hands were covered in blood,
Hmm.
and he was wearing a mask, which I haven't seen him do in a while. A very specific mask that he doesn't usually wear.
Hmm. I have found that people who experience or have some type of trauma or a something that is making them feel a certain way, a certain emotion, they tend to retreat. I tend to retreat, and
Hmm.
I put on a mask of my own, and it makes me cope better with
Hmm.
my emotional state. So,
I could see
keeping in
that.
mind the fact that Brett and I have certainly had our history with each other, stands to reason that he would probably have his own vice to try and make himself cope.
Hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah.
dig too deeply into that and think that he's quote unquote falling back into old habits.
I mean, the hands covered in blood is kind of the more important thing.
I mean, I suppose. I mean, well, did he. What did he do?
He told me he just took some stuff out on some locals, but I worry that's just one step, and then who knows what else. Because he's been really happy recently. He's been, telling me of all the good things in his life about how he's moving on from everything. And then just all of a sudden in one day, it seems like that's completely gone. Like he is convinced that it's all going to go away. And I don't know if it's just the hound. That seems like people have gone after him before. He it it just doesn't seem, I don't know.
Hmm.
I worry.
Well, Brett certainly has a way of dealing with things, and
Yeah. Did you ask him to come down here?
no.
Came down here on his own?
Yes. I hadn't actually spoken to him in a long time, actually.
Hmm.
But I don't stop thinking about him.
Oh?
But I know that he wanted or needed some space, so I gave it to him.
Yeah. I feel like he still needs space.
Sure, but that's a decision that he gets to make on his own.
Yeah. But
People want to come and visit me. I mean, that's up to them.
that is true.
I mean, there's been a few people that have visited me who have no business visiting me, but they visit me anyway because they have no one else.
Hmm.
I'm not looking to infringe upon anything that has happened in his life.
I'm
If
not accusing you of that.
that is what you.
I'm just trying to understand. Because I worry about him. And I'm not really sure why he'd come up here to talk to you. Because from everything he's told me, he seems to want to distance himself from the Smileys altogether. He seems to
Hmm.
actively dislike you guys.
Hmm. Like I said, people they say one thing about me and my family, but then they tend to do the opposite.
Hmm.
It's a running theme, as I've noticed. At the end of the day, we were a very big part of Brett's life,
Yeah.
and that's not something that you can just completely erase. It's difficult to push family away.
Because you brainwashed him? Joy is not taking any prisoners.
He made his own choices.
Did he?
And actually, I didn't brainwash him.
Oh, I know you didn't. That was all Rick.
Who, by the way, is in a hole somewhere in this prison, just carving away at walls, just muttering to himself.
That's good to know.
Is it, though?
I mean, he's ruined a lot of lives.
True, but he's a guy who needed a lot of help, and no one would help him.
That doesn't excuse everything he did. That
Of
doesn't
course not.
excuse him hurting Brett.
Of course, it doesn't excuse anything, but the whole point of helping somebody is to try and see it from their side, understand them, and try and figure out the problem and treat it with a nuanced perspective.
Hmm.
Wait, who are you to Brett?
A friend to him? I started out as someone he would just talk to about things, but we grew closer. And I consider him a close friend of mine.
Well, I would consider him a son.
A son?
Yes.
Hmm.
When I say that a lot of us were like family, I'm not joking. I'm not just saying that. That was our dynamic.
I could get that from what Brett said.
Some would say it was a quite dysfunctional family, but it was still a family.
I know Brett was miserable when he was with you guys.
Brett was in an emotional state well before he was with us.
Can you say you honestly didn't take advantage of that? Because from my perspective, it seems like you kind of target people who are in vulnerable states.
Well, you say he's happy now, yes?
I think so. He's still working on a lot of stuff because of everything, but he's better. I always forget to turn off my...
Would he have gotten to that point had he not gone through these experiences, as you suggest?
Are you trying to say it justifies it?
No. I'm just saying that his emotional state was always his emotional state. You know, he was going to choose Rick no matter what, regardless of what occurred to get him to side more so with the family. You see, Rick and Brett, they knew each other well before he became part of us.
Yeah.
And Brett was always going to go down this path, no matter what. So in that sense, I almost kind of see it as if he was going to... I don't necessarily believe in destiny. However, perhaps there is something to be said about a semi-preconceived pathway leading to their ultimate conclusion.
Hmm.
Hell, I can name you. There's at least one other person who left us who seems directionless now.
Who?
I mean, I'm sure you can find out.
Yeah, I can. But do you really think the right direction is serial killer? I mean,
Like I said, there was a lot more nuance than that specifically.
you killed people. That's kind of, no matter what nuance there is, you still were a group of people that killed people.
Sure, sure, sure. But as I said, we were very close.
Yeah.
And no matter what we did, that wasn't going to change until, well, till most of us ended up in here.
Hmm.
I very much care for him,
I can see that.
and obviously you very much care for him as well.
I do.
But I assure you that whether I'm in here or out there, I'm not going to infringe upon his life. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to distance myself entirely, if that is what you're asking me to do.
I'm not asking anything of you. I'm just trying to understand.
I think there may be one more.
Yeah, they have another month, so they should be out soon.
Those Cuban federales.
I think Leo has another month or so.
What exactly do you do?
I'm a caretaker. I help people out.
So wait, were you Brett's caretaker?
That's what he originally called me for, but it never really panned out like that. He just needed someone to talk to. I wouldn't consider me his caretaker. I'm just his friend.
They didn't even take my knife.
Hmm.
If I was just his caretaker, I would have left when he threatened to kill me.
You know, he did tell me about you.
Oh?
At least once. I think there was a point where he was trying to be me.
Hmm.
You know, I tended to reach out to people and make my presence known.
Hmm.
And to my knowledge, he was doing something similar with you, was he not?
Probably. But also, it seemed like in a lot of ways, it was a call for help.
Mm.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Leo. Sorry.
Maybe it was just an attempt to get his name out there, but I think it was also him reaching out. And he continued reaching out.
swallow. I'm going to sleep.
Hmm.
Appreciate you. Yeah, man, I totally am. Nah, nah, nah. Oh, lovely.
Let's move
Yeah.
down one.
No, no, nah.
So what exactly? I mean, what you just wanted to talk about, Brett?
Yeah, I worry about him, and it seems like he started getting worse right when he talked to you. So I figured asking what kind of happened might help me help him. Because it seems like he's preparing for his death right now.
Hmm. I mean, he tends to overreact.
That is true.
Like there was a point where he just kind of casually said that I'm at the worst point in my life. He just kind of said it casually, just you know.
When he was with you guys.
But then he kept pressing on, and he was fine.
But was he?
Well, he at the very least was strong enough to move past what was ailing him at that time.
Hmm.
I would imagine that this would be the same kind of thing. But at the
I
same
hope so.
time, I mean, I do feel like he has a pretty damn good reason to feel a little upset, considering if there is somebody who is actively hunting people like him and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it stands to reason that he's going to have a bit of a breakdown of a sort.
That's true.
And perhaps maybe that is why you need to maybe keep him in check if you care about him.
That's what I'm trying to do. I just don't want this to ruin what he's built up. And I don't want him to start to get worse again. I don't want him to feel like he's backed up against a corner. But I don't know how to help him when he's paranoid for his life and he doesn't want to admit that he is scared. That's why I came to talk to you, because I mean, obviously you know him more than me. If he was like your son.
Here's the thing. I don't think Brett's ever not been paranoid.
True.
Because I have been paranoid for well over nearly 23 years of my life. And counting. It never goes away. It's always there. Biting at you, clawing at you, eating at you. And you do whatever you have to do to cope with it, to manage it. I don't think it's wise to tell someone that they're scared, because that in and of itself, I feel like would cause more issue than if you hadn't.
Mm.
So then we go back to the entire idea of a nuanced perspective. You need to see what I see, feel what I feel, hear what I hear.
Mm.
Understand where he's coming from in terms of his fear,
All right.
and try and dig into that, so to speak. But don't do it. People tend to just, as I've noticed, they tend to just say, "Why are you acting this way, dog? Don't do that, dog." When in actuality, they should just be more gentle and subtle about approaching things. Because here's the thing: when somebody approaches somebody and tells them you've been brainwashed, that's going to hit them in very particular ways that
Yeah.
they won't understand. There's a reason why that when we did that, we referred to it
We.
specifically as training.
Huh.
We did not use that word.
Okay.
And when people who gather that information start saying that out loud, as if, nonchalantly, the reaction is not going to be good.
Yeah.
It's all in the nuanced perspective. It's all in the understanding that this individual needs to be worked on from a subtle point of view. You need to build into it. You need to ask the right questions. Maybe ask him how he met Rick. Maybe go into that story. Maybe
Yeah.
ask him about his Lot Q days.
He's always been very quiet about stuff like that.
Well, how long has he known you?
Probably more than half a year now. Met back in like February.
Right. Well,
I will probably ask him
I
more
mean,
about
at the
that.
very least, you could start a conversation with him. Maybe have a conversation with him. Maybe don't try to help him. Just try to understand him and approach it from a friend's point of view. Don't
Yeah.
try to help him.
All right.
People try to help too much, and it has adverse effects.
All right. Well, thank you.
Am I making any sense to you?
You do. You do make sense.
Right.
I get where you're coming from. Thank you for talking with me and shining some light on some stuff.
You're welcome. I'm always here if you wanted to
All
have
right.
a personal conversation.
And can you not tell him I came here? I probably make him more defensive.
I won't.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later, Johanna.
Huh.
Be a stranger.